Okay, welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael. Today we're going to be talking about Simon Nemec and what the New Jersey Devils should do with Simon Nemec. So one thing I like to do is I always like to look at the history of players and of situations. So we're going to start by going back to the 2022 NHL draft, which was in Montreal. That year, the New Jersey Devils had a really bad year, 2021, 2022. The Devils fans, including myself, expected them to grow and be better that year. They weren't. And they won the draft lottery and they got the second overall pick. I think they were originally supposed to pick like fourth, maybe fifth, but they won the second overall pick in the draft lottery. Now, the first overall pick was Montreal. And this was the time when there was debate about who should go first overall. Should it be Uri Slafkovsky or Shane Wright? Now, many people, including myself, thought Shane Wright would be the first overall pick and should be the first overall pick. I was definitely under the belief that Shane Wright was the better player. I remember seeing a statistic that was if Uri Slafkovsky was the first overall pick, he would have the lowest point per game of any first overall pick prior to being drafted in his draft year. Um, and I think everyone was shocked when Montreal went up to the stand and made the pick, Uri Slafkovsky. Now, hindsight is 2020, which is a very interesting phrase because obviously it's referencing the eyesight. Hindsight's 2020. You can look back and see how things have gone. But I don't know why. I always mentally visualize it as like the year, like hindsight's the year 2020. That's not how it works. But looking back now, hindsight 2020, Yuri Slafkovsky has been a really good first overall pick. It took him a little bit of time to develop with Montreal, but they hit it out of the park. They were willing to take some time to develop him. And in the year 25-26, he was fantastic for them. And he was great in the playoffs too. They made it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. Um, but with the second overall pick, I was really happy that they took Slavkovsky because I was like, oh my God, no way. The Devils are going to get Shane Wright. And I had this vision that for 2 years after they draft Shane Wright, they would have a center core of Jack Hughes first line, Nico Hischier on the second line, and Shane Wright on the third line. And I thought that that was going to be the best, not only the best center depth from 1 through 3 in the NHL. I was like, all these guys are under the age of 26 for the first 2 years, under 25, I think, actually. Well, yeah, actually under 25, all three of them. And I was like, this is a franchise defining pick. And then I thought eventually after 2 years, Jack Hughes would move to the wing. Shane Wright would come up to the first line. Jack Hughes would be on the wing with Shane Wright, probably Jesper Bratt as well. And then Nico Hischier would be on the second line. However, that did not happen. The Devils took Simon Nemec, which was, again, pretty surprising because while Simon Nemec was the first defenseman, graded the first defenseman, I do apologize too because I don't really know too much about the draft process that year. I don't really know what the scouts were saying that much about Simon Nemec and about if he should be a top three pick or whatever. But they definitely were saying he was the first. He was going to be the first defenseman off the board. He was the best defenseman in the draft. I did not like the pick. I was like, man, I don't really think we need a defenseman. We just signed Dougie Hamilton. We just drafted Luke Hughes. Like, man, I mean, I guess this means that our decor is going to be great for the future because now you have three defensemen who could be number one defenseman in the league. Um, little did I know what would happen. But I didn't like the pick at the time, and I even thought Logan Cooley would have been a better pick than Shimon Nemec. I definitely thought Shane Wright would have been the best pick at the time, but I thought even Logan Cooley would be a better pick. And Logan Cooley was drafted by Arizona, and he's been great for Utah now since Arizona moved to Utah. The Mammoth, they've been great. He's been great for Utah. Got back into the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, technically, because they don't recognize Arizona's history. But if you want to recognize it, the first time technically since 2020, but that's a whole weird thing with the bubble and everything like that. But the Devils take Shimon Nemec. He needs time to develop, as every defenseman does, especially every second overall pick defenseman. He did not play for the Devils in 2022, 2023. The Devils made the playoffs that year. So now we're thinking, and I'm excited because even though I wish I had the other players, I'm thinking, wow, this young defenseman who was drafted second overall pick is developing in the AHL. He's playing well in the AHL, and we just had the best regular season in franchise history. There's no way that this does not go good. Then in the 23-24 season, he plays his first real season, 60 games played, only 19 points, a -7. That year was weird because he started off the year. I don't think he was originally on the Devils to start the year, but he got called up and he started the year off pretty good. He got his first goal against Seattle, which is either the second or third time a Devils rookie has gotten their first goal against Seattle. I remember Dawson Mercer got his first goal against Seattle in 2021. But Nemec got his first goal against Seattle as well. But he played really well to start the year, and then he trailed off, and he wasn't very good at the end of the year, which is okay. Young kid, second year defenseman. What are you gonna do? You know, it is what it is. But then the following years were a bit of a struggle as well. He didn't play well the following year. He only ended up playing in 27 games. Um, and then this year was another year where there was a step up. We saw a step up from him this year. He played 68 games this year, and he had the most points he had, 26 points. But he wasn't fantastic. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because it's been, what is it? Let me look at the stats here. It's been 4 years. One, two, three, four. It's been 4 years since the Devils drafted him. He's still a very young defenseman, and defensemen take time. But it's interesting because he is a restricted free agent. Um, this is going to be a difficult situation because the Devils also have other defensemen on their team that are making some money. Dougie Hamilton makes $9 million. Luke Hughes makes $9 million. Now, Luke Hughes has struggled a little bit. I do think that part of Luke Hughes' struggles this year is mainly due to the fact that he missed all of training camp last year because uh, at the time, general manager Tom Fitzgerald refused to sign him, and it took literally till after training camp. I still really am frustrated with that situation. How do you let your fourth overall pick in 5 drafts ago, is going into his third year, you want him to be your future star defenseman. How do you let this situation, how do you let him miss a training camp? I digress. But now you're in a situation where you need to sign another young defenseman. Now this is a different regime. This is the Sonny Maeda regime. But what do you do? The real question is, what do you do with this kid? Because his name's been in trade rumors prior to Sonny Maeda. Now, obviously, Sonny Maeda is a different general manager. It's a different regime. They may view him a little bit differently, the way that Tom Fitzgerald and his regime viewed Simon Nemec, especially with how the team is playing too. The team can't score goals. So these are the two scenarios that I see. Either A, you package Simon Nemec with other pieces to acquire a legit top six, not only a top six, but at least a first line winger, maybe even a star wing. The other scenario is that you sign him to a bridge deal or option three, a long-term deal. Now, let's go through each scenario. Let's start off with the trade route. The trade route for Simon Nemec is not to get rid of him. I've always been of the mentality that I hate when teams who have a high draft pick player who is underdeveloped trade him away because they don't think he's going to develop into something. It tends to backfire, especially with players who are prospects. I mean, look at the situation in Montreal when Vegas traded for Max Pacioretty. Now, obviously, that's a different situation because Vegas was going for the Stanley Cup. The Devils obviously are going for the Stanley Cup, but they're not at the same level that Vegas was when they traded for Max Pacioretty. They traded away Nick Suzuki, and Nick Suzuki just had 100 points. There's other situations of players who are young who haven't fully developed getting traded and then turn into superstars. My fear with the trading away of Simon Nemec is he develops into a top pair defenseman with another team. And I do think that he can do that. Trading Simon Nemec isn't to trade him just to get rid of him. You know, you trade Simon Nemec. Oh, hold on. Here's another situation of a team trading away a young player. Capo Caco with the New York Rangers. Capo Caco with the New York Rangers was not good. He just got dumped off to Seattle. And he's been decent with Seattle. Now, he hasn't been a star player. Arguably, hasn't even been a top six player, but he's been a good player for them. And you look at Capo Caco and you think maybe the Rangers need a player like Capo Caco who's not going to be a star player, but is still young and is still good. They gave him off for really nothing. Same thing with Nemec. You can't do that with Nemec. You can't say he's only had 26 most points. He had 11 goals this year, which is actually really good. He had a hat trick in Chicago, overtime game winner. But you can't say, oh, he's only had 26 points. His defense has been sub suspect. He's not really great. Maybe we trade him for like a second round pick. Like, no, don't do that. If you're gonna trade Simon Nemec, you trade him for a piece that you need, which is top six wingers, not just top six wingers, but goal scoring wingers who can play on the first line with Jack Hughes. I have no doubt that Nemec is going to develop more. It's just how much is he going to develop? Is he going to be a top four defenseman? Is he going to be a top pair defenseman? Is he going to be elite defenseman in the league? And I would love for Nemec to be a top pair, elite, or even a top four defenseman for the New Jersey Devils. But I think that if you have an opportunity to upgrade your wingers, which you need to do, Nemec might be a part of that. Now, what does that mean for the rest of the D core in a trade? Well, clearly, when you take Nemec out, there's a hole. If you look at the Devils' right side, you have Hamilton, which we'll talk about him and part of this Nemec situation. You have to look at every part when you talk about one player leaving. You have Hamilton, you have Brett Pesce, you have Jonathan Kovacevic, and you have Seamus Casey in the minors. Trading Nemec means that there's no logjam. The problem with this past season was that Kovacevic missed the year up until like New Year. But after that, there was a logjam. You had four defensemen who were NHL defensemen for three spots. Dougie Hamilton would come out of the lineup mainly because he played poorly, but he'd come out. Kovacevic would sit because he's coming back from injury. But when they're all healthy, those are four defensemen that should be in the lineup every night. There's no logjam there anymore. You could say, well, Seamus Casey, he might be ready for the NHL, and he might be, but there's no logjam with the four guys who are NHL level defensemen right now. That does, in my opinion, mean that Dougie Hamilton would stay then. And that's kind of a problem with me because Dougie Hamilton makes $9 million. dollars. He's been a part of trade rumors in the past. He might not even want to stay here anymore. He might say to Sonny Meta, and I do think that even though this is speculation, I do think that maybe he wants out. Maybe he doesn't want to be here anymore. And I'm fine with him being traded. If they traded him, I would be okay with that. I actually will talk about that in the next video. But trading Simon Nemec allows you to upgrade in areas that you need to upgrade because they finished bottom three in goal scoring this year, especially with Jack Hughes. How do you finish bottom three in goal scoring and you have Jack Hughes? But it also opens up the logjam a little bit. Now, something that I would like to see is them sign him to a bridge deal, um, something along of 2 or 3 years, and this kind of be a make or break year for him. If you sign him to like a 2, 3 year deal, I can't give you a number on a cap hit because with the rising cap, who knows? He might ask for like 7 mil on like a 3 year deal. But let's say you sign him to a 2 year deal, 3 year deal, and he has a great year and he puts up 40 plus points and he's actually at minimum average defensively. And then you say, hey, this is a guy that could be a part of our future on the D core. Maybe he doesn't play as well and he plays like 70 games and he has another 25-point season, maybe even 30-point season. Then you start to say, well, 30 points is actually good, but let's say like 25 points and his defense is still even though his trade value goes down, you realize that this is not who is supposed to be on our team long term. Now, that is kind of a situation that is very stagnant and it's very make or break in terms of it could work, it could not work. I think it's low risk, low reward in that situation. Um, because if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You can move off from him. And I feel like there would be no problem trading him away as a 23-year-old young defenseman's former second overall pick who hasn't hit his full potential yet. And again, you could use him as a part of a package for a player. The one that I'm nervous about, the most nervous about in this scenario, is the long-term deal. Now, there's been rumors that he might want a long-term deal. I'm nervous about that Because if you go long term with him, you can't move him. Like if you sign him to a 7 year deal, 6 year deal, maybe even 5 years, which is relatively long term, even 4 years, like if he sucks next year, he's stuck. You're stuck with trying to rehabilitate a player who never really was good. You're stuck with him. I don't like the idea of signing him long term. Also, if you sign him long term, he's probably going to want more money. He's probably going to want like $7, $8 million. There's rumors that right now that he might want Luke Hughes money. He hasn't done anything in his career to prove that he deserves Luke Hughes money. If he gets a 7 times 9, that's a high risk, high reward deal. And I'm nervous of that. I'm nervous of giving him a long-term deal. I'm nervous of giving him a lot of money because he's shown flashes, especially this year. He's shown the most this past season than he's shown at any point of his career. But over the course of a full season, he has not done enough to deserve a long-term deal or to deserve a lot of money. Now, if you do sign him long term, or even if you do sign him on a bridge deal, I think that does officially mean the end of Dougie Hamilton in New Jersey, because of A, money, B, because of the logjam. I guess you could move someone else like Kovacevic, or you could move Pesci. I don't think you would want to move Pesci. Pesci is a very good defensive defenseman for the Devils. So I guess you theoretically could move Kovacevic, but I feel like you would have a way harder time moving Kovacevic than you would Hamilton. And also it would make more sense to move Hamilton because Hamilton makes $9 million. Getting rid of that 9 million would be perfect to sign a free agent or to trade for a top six winger or a first line winger. Getting rid of, let's say you sign Nemec, let's say to a 5 mil, like a 2 year deal, 5 mil a year deal, or 6 mil a year deal, and then you trade Kovacevic, like you're not really saving money. It's still increasing your cap, if that makes sense. And then you're in a situation where does Nemec play on the bottom pair? Does he play on the second pair? In a situation where you sign Nemec to a bridge deal or long-term deal, I do think that that means that Hamilton will be gone because it opens up a ton of money. Like I said, if you sign Nemec to let's just say 6 mil, I'm throwing out a random number. This is not a capology situation. 6 mil a year. And you trade Hamilton's 9 mil. That still saves 3 mil in a year where you're gaining $8 million on your cap. That's $11 million increase. So there are three situations I see with Nemec. You trade him, you sign him bridge, or you sign him long term. If I had to rank the scenarios, I would kind of want to bridge the most, but I would also want to trade him the most. If some team like St. Louis comes to us and they're like, hey, we'll trade you Jordan Kyrou and you give us Nemec in the 12th overall pick, I would say, yeah, let's do that. Even though that does mean that Hamilton will probably be here for another year, which I'm not a big fan of. I kind of want Hamilton gone, but that will be in the next one. That will be in the next video talking about Dougie Hamilton and his future as a New Jersey Devil. But it's going to be very interesting because he's a restricted free agent. July 1st is when RFAs have to be qualified, or maybe the day before, but June 30th. June 30th is when they have to qualify. And then they still have to sign him. And I know the Devils still have to sign Nico Hischier, which I talked about in the last video. And they still got to sign free agents, and they still got to make trades. Who knows? It's going to be a lot interesting. And Sonny Mehta, the new GM, he's got to evaluate his team. So I don't know where it's going to go with Nemec. I could see it going in three different scenarios: a trade, a bridge deal signing, or a long-term deal. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully this offseason is crazy, but we'll see what happens with Nemec. That's pretty much about it. Like, subscribe, comment, share, favorite. I don't know if they have favorites on YouTube anymore, but yeah, thanks so much for watching.